Dear student, all of you on my classes, that is Kundu sir classes. It is accounts for 12th class. Topics: company accounts, that is company. Issue of share, class number 9 or serial number 9 on issue of shares. I have mentioned some name here, that is calls in arrear, calls in advance, interest on calls in advance, arrear, interest in calls in advance, expenses on issue of shares, underwriter's commission. Now I am giving explanation regarding the calls of arrear. When an applicant or members is not paying the money in due time, after making due, then the amount, that means the defaulted amount, is to be transferred to calls in arrear account. Then calls in arrear account, and on extreme right, the arrear will be created when a member is not paying their due money. Then entry will be calls in arrear account debit to relevant called account. Relevant called means it may be first call, it may be final call, it may be share allotment also. That means calls in arrear account is created. Now the question, it is interest on calls in arrear. Under Company Act 2013, under table F, the rate of interest in calls in arrear is mentioned there. It may be maximum 10%. If the board of the director or the management of the company is decided to waive up or to waive the interest, they can do. Otherwise, it is not waived by the management. Then what will be entry for this? Sundry members, that means the member who is not paid the relevant call and the specific amount, the share sundry members account is be debited to interest all calls in arrear on arrear amount, and that applicable duration into rate of interest is the way of calculation. That means amount, the rate of interest 10% or into relevant time. Delay may be 2 months, delay may be 1 month, delay may be 5 months. If it is 5 months, then 5 by 12. Then in this way, calculation is to be made for interest on arrear accounts. As and when the member is paying the amount, then entry is bank account debit to sundry members account. We have made due under 1A, sundry members account debit to interest in calls in arrear, interest, then bank account debit to sundry members account. That means the company is receiving the money. Thereafter, interest on calls in arrear, it is income for the company, it is to be debited, and the profit or the earning is to be transferred to PL account, that is interest on calls in arrear account debit to statement of profit and loss account. Now I have explained regarding calls in arrear, interest on calls in arrear, how it is to be calculated, and the due entry, then receiving entry, then transferring entry, that is interest received in calls in arrear on calls in arrear is to be transferred to profit and loss account. Now calls in advance account. When the company charging interest on overdue, when applicant who is paid in advance he or she or the member of the company is entitled to get interest. It is also mentioned in this, the rate of interest for calls in advance, it should be 12%. Most probably it is not mentioned here. Rate of interest equal to 12%. That means maximum interest is to be charged on calls in arrear on 10%, and it may be waived also. But in case of calls in advance, you are not the decision maker, because it is the money of the members of the company who is purchased share and given some advance. That means the company has a liability to pay the interest to the relevant share applicant or the member. Then first entry, it may be happen for calls in advance for over subscription, or any member is making entire payment. Suppose first call and final call, at the time of allotment, entire amount paid in advance on the advance period, and the amount on advance will get interest at the rate of 12%. That means calls in advance may be arised due to oversubscription, then share application account debit to calls in advance, or any shareholder may deposit the money or to the company in advance for the first call, final call, or the future call. They can give advance. In case of it is oversubscription, in case of any shareholder is making payment in advance, maybe with at the time of allotment, or at the time of first call they are giving the final call, at the time of allotment giving first call money and final call money, then bank account debit to calls in advance account. Thereafter, on interest due, interest on calls in advance, it is expenditure to sundry members account. Then sundry members account will be credited, and interest on calls in advance account will be debited, because it is expenditure. On the payment to the sundry members, we have already credited interest on this. When the company is making payment, then at that time sundry members account will be debited to bank account. That means expenditure related to on calls in advance for interest, it is to be transferred to statement of PL account or PL account. Therefore, statement of PL account will be debited to interest on calls in advance. It is the entry here. We have taken a small problem to know the entry calculation. That means you pass the entry and calculate the interest. First, it is here, but I am doing here. Calculation of interest for calls in arrears. There is a problem, very small problem. Ditipriya, the holder of 200 shares in Shreya Limited, paid her arrears in respect of first call rupees 25 rupees per share on 1st August, but it was due on 1st May. The rate of interest on calls in arrear rupees 10% per annum. First, we should make calculation for interest on calls in arrear. First calculation, then we should pass journal. How? That is equal to 25 into 200. Rate of interest 10%, and duration that is May, June, July, 3 months only. May, June, July, because Ditipriya is paying the payment on 1st August. So it is 3 by 12. Then it will be how much? Now I am calculating. It is 5,000 into 10% into 3 by 12. Then 5,000 into 10 into 3 divided by 1200. It comes to rupees 125. That means duration for calculation of interest from 1st August to 1st May to 1st May 2022, 31st July, that is May, June, July, 3 months. Then journal. Now journal, what will be the journal you go? Yeah, that is in calls in arrear. Then we have calculate interest, already calculated. The sundry members, that is the shareholder Ditipriya. The Ditipriyas, that means sundry members. Now sundry members is Ditipriya, shareholder, account debit, Ditipriya account debit, then to interest on calls in arrears, rupees 125, then 125. Then Ditipriya is giving payment, then B entry. B entry what? It is first entry and Ditipriya is making payment. Then bank account debit to Ditipriya, that is sundry members or sundry members account. We have received 125 and 125. Now the interest we are transferring to profit and loss account. That means interest on calls in arrear account debit to statement of PL account, that is 125. First entry sundry member, that is Ditipriya's account debit to interest on calls in arrear. Then when we are receiving the amount from Ditipriya, then bank account debit to sundry members of Ditipriya's account. Third is interest on account of calls in arrear. The interest on calls in arrear account will be debited and the income is to be transferred to the PL account, that is to statement of PL account. I have explained. One more problem will be done. It is done on calls in arrear. Next class I will do on calls in advance. How will company give payment to the shareholder who is made payment is advance. Thanks all of you. Wait for next class. Next class will be more interesting. For joining this class, I am conveying thanks to all of you.